Mic check. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of The Drop Podcast, the podcast where we pretty much just play games, hang out, do our thing. So I kind of wanted to. I was talking to my sister last night about relationships and how relationships influence us in ways. Hold on, my nose is kind of being weird. I woke up this morning and it was just like storming outside, like it was thundering, and oh man, it was so nice. But as I was saying though, what was I saying? Oh yeah, so I was talking to my sister last night because we were talking about relationships, and I think we approach relationships differently because she's very much so like if she's dating someone, she's like, you might as well just date for the purpose of getting married, which I get. But then at the same time, well, I think what it should be really is more like I'll date, but for the purpose or with the openness to like kind of like how the Catholic the Catholic Church views marriage. The Catholic Church views marriage as or not marriage itself, but like sex, as if you're gonna have sex, it should be for the purpose. Okay, I remember what this is like. It should be for the purpose, or for the openness to have children, right? Like you should always be open to that purpose, which I don't know. I mean, I think it's a good idea, but I don't, particularly have anything against anything against anything against like plan B or whatever. I will say I think abortion is wrong. I don't think it's morally right, and I think it's kind of a selfish purpose. Because I think I don't think it's a woman's issue. I think more so it's well, I'm not sure if I should say it should be illegal, but I don't think it's mentally healthy. I don't think it's I think it shows something wrong with our culture. Well, I guess I should say this. I guess like the culture of it shows, I guess, kind of how selfish I think we have become as a culture in ourselves. It's like we don't want to be responsible for our actions, and so I guess like I think heartbeat rule is cool. I think if you hear a heartbeat by that point, I don't know, but at the same time, I think we need a better definition of what is living, because I understand like whenever it's babies, or whenever, well, I don't even know what to call it by that point, but like whenever it's just two cells, or like the fetus, or I don't know, pre-fetus, whenever it's just two cells, I recognize that, like, can you call that a baby? Is that a baby? Is it alive? Because I think once well, one, that's another conversation we need to have. Like, does anyone have a good case for like why killing is wrong? Besides, I mean, there's one philosopher that was trying to, figure out what is morality, and decided that morality is basically if everyone did this that I'm doing right now, would the world be a better place? Right? And I just kind of feel like it's not a good. I mean, it's a good Like, I think that's the best we have. That's what I think. I think truly, I believe that is simply the best that we could possibly do. I. Besides that, I don't think we have, a real good answer for these questions. Oh, I need to level up. So, because of that, I think we really need to dive a lot deeper into like, we need to take morality serious. Like, what can there be some evidence for, why you should act well, I actually guess Jordan Peterson has been doing a decent job. I guess because I think one morality should be, if everyone acts in this way, would the world be a better place? Or maybe maybe you can't go the other direction. Maybe there can't be an answer to it, like how I'm saying, if everyone acts this way, would the world be a better place? Maybe that's a good definition, but you can't say if everyone did this, would the world be a worse place? Maybe you can't go that direction, because it's never that simple. It's hard to just say, that because there's always cases where, things might, like, for example, I think there are cases where abortion, and I don't know, like, it feels wrong to say this, and that's why, like, it just kind of feels malevolent. It feels sad, and I don't know, but which could just be cultural, how I grew up, because I did grow up Catholic, and I did grow up valuing human life and people to, like, a really, really high standard, so that 100% could be part of it, and I have no problem admitting that. But I think there's something good about valuing human life. But what I am saying, though, also, what I'm saying is that I think that I think we can't go the other way, because I guess in the case of a rape, and you have a child that's 10 years old, what if their life is improved by, I mean, they're in school, I don't know, I guess it's hard to say, because I don't know, it is really hard, it's a tough one. Okay, but just trying to make it simple, so no other factors than there's a little girl that's in school and has, a life ahead of her, and assuming that child would have to raise it, and that there's no, other way, which look, I'm setting a lot of standards, and I recognize that, or not a lot of standards, but like I'm setting a lot of rules to simplify the thing down, which I'm not sure if it's ever just that simple. That's, whatever. It's none of my business. But just assuming that like we could get that simple, then I think I still don't think, because part of me just feels like, that's murder, and I'm talking about like late term, like by the time the baby is developed and whatever. Because I also recognize that making decisions aren't easy, and especially if, in a way that you feel responsible for it. But I feel like, besides a situation like rape, you kind of should feel responsible. I'm about to get myself in trouble. Maybe we won't go down that road yet. Fuck it. Look, if you guys are coming to listen to me, know that like I'm always down to have a conversation, and if we were to talk, I would always be down to listen, understand you. So, I just hope that you're willing to work with me, and if I'm wrong, I will always be willing to, change the way I see things, but at the same time, I'm not just gonna change. Like, you can't just say like, oh, you can't be like that, or whatever, or like you have to have a better argument than basically I'm saying you have to have a real good argument whenever I've thought something through like this, because I've thought this through, and this is honestly, and I'll back this up. I will. So if you're willing to listen, if which is up to you, if you have an open enough mind, but I think, a lot of the times, and this isn't every single time, but a lot of the times there is a level of, well, here, let me say this. No one's ever at fault for, what happens, but there is a level of, putting yourself in a situation where something bad can happen. And that is something that I do believe that people should be held responsible for. Like, I think there is a level of responsibility that people should have. And if you look into data, most cases where people are raped is, one, people that you know. So I guess you could probably look deeper into that. Typically what are the signs? And another thing is usually it's whenever both parties are drunk. So that kind of infers, okay, college. And also at the same time, there's something about men just being together in large groups whenever their testosterone is high and they're young and they're energetic, that they just become the worst a-holes. Which is a generalized statement, I'm not saying, but it's just, a collection of data from, I didn't go to college, but I've met people in college and I've heard stories, and I know people in college, and from what I hear, I'm not very impressed by the way men are, the way college men are. And I think that, the same way that a female that puts herself in a situation should be held responsible, male should also definitely be held responsible for their actions. It's just being smart, You know, it, and I mean, just being in high school, it's a weird thing. Like, cause it would be like this conversation over and over. Cause I was always, friends with the female, right? Cause I don't know, I if it has something to do like with me just growing up with all sisters, but I always connected better with females. But it would get so annoying because I'd be friends with them, and all it was every single day was just, oh, boys did this, and oh, I know I shouldn't talk to him, but he's cute, and then it'd be like funny, it'd be fun. And I mean, I guess in a way that's what it should be, right? Like, you should be having fun. You shouldn't have to worry about uh being raped or being taken advantage of or whatever. Things should be fair in relationships. People should care. Deeper than, oh, she's hot. You know what I mean? People should care for your character, but unfortunately, it's just not the way it is. It's like, people shouldn't shoot you. Look, here's the way I relate it. Whenever I say that women do have a level of responsibility, and here's the example that I always use, because my girlfriend gets really mad at me for this one. But actually, last time we had the conversation, she was like, you know what, I guess I kind of see where you're coming from. And it's actually because I started off with this argument. So the reason why I think that there is responsibility. One, if we held people accountable for putting themselves in bad situations, I think one, that just develops a culture of self responsibility and strength and leadership in oneself, and people would be much more thoughtful about themselves. But you don't get drunk, hop in a car, and then get in a car crash and get mad that and then get mad at I don't know, let's just assume you get into well, yeah, I mean, and then get mad that you got in a car crash. Like, I mean, no, well, okay, not fair. Not fair, actually, because, and I say that because, if you get in a car crash, that's, I mean, it's just, it's different enough, because it's like you should be held accountable because you got in the car, right? You shouldn't be held accountable, I guess, for someone. Well, it's tough. You shouldn't be held accountable for someone taking advantage of you. And you know what? Fine. We'll just say, for somebody, as much as I don't want to say it, I mean, is what it is. For somebody raping you, you should not be held accountable. For sure. And, I 100% agree with that statement, understand that statement, and I think it's true. And but at the same time, I just think that there should be the conversation of, if you put yourself in a situation that's bad, there is something to say about, yeah, you shouldn't have put yourself there. You should have. All right, so here's what I think the solution is to me, in my head. So I think, in that situation, we take someone to court. The person who did the raping should 100% be taken to jail, should be, malevolently scrutinized. Well, high punishment for that, because that scars people, and it ruins relationships. It ruins trust. And you can't live in a world that we have without trust. Relationships are one of the most important things in people's lives. And if you screw with people's ability to have relationships, you've made it really, really, really difficult for someone to bounce back and be able to fix that in themselves. And that is malevolent. Like, that is terrible. So one, we should be taught control, but we should also be taught responsibility, and that's something that I think we let go of in these situations. We say, oh no, she's not, you can't hold her responsible for putting herself in a situation because she shouldn't have been raped in the first place, which I agree. If the guy never did the act, the problem would never have occurred. But at the same time, if the girl never put herself or got herself in that situation, the problem also would have never occurred. So it is important. It is important to be thoughtful, basically. In a perfect world, I guess you wouldn't have to be but unfortunately, I mean, we just don't live in a perfect world. So I don't know. And but I don't know. Like I said, it's not that I would punish anybody for getting themselves, like, I think that's where people get it wrong. No. No one should be punished whenever something bad happens to them. It's like getting robbed. If I get robbed, but I leave my car door unlocked, it's still not my fault that I got robbed. It's not my responsibility. I mean, it is my responsibility. Like, I should have been smarter. Like, I should have locked my door. But I guess the problem is that's a learning experience where I get robbed, but it's really not that big of a deal as someone threatens my life. I'm scared. I'm out of control. Like, basically, you go to bed and then you wake up the next morning and you got robbed and you're like, oh, well, shoot, I'll lock my door now. You can't. I mean, you could do the same thing. Like, you could say, okay, I won't get drunk at a frat party anymore. But at the same time, it's like the damage psychologically has been done. You can't. It's very hard to heal from, that experience and trust people again and build relationships again. It's not easy, and that's what's so malevolent about it, because it's relationships that can save you, but it's also relationships it's relationships that can save you, and whenever you lack trust in people, like whenever like Selena Gomez goes online and says, all I need is me, like, no. Now I love myself some SG, so I'm not hating, but I'm just saying she has work to do, because I mean, we're social creatures. We need that connection. Babies will die. Well, here, let me fact check this real quick, because that's something that a lot of people say, and I have no idea if it's true. But they say babies will die if you don't like touch them within like the first week or so. Well, I guess that's dumb, because like if you're not touching them, you're not breastfeeding them, so that's kind of stupid. But well, I guess you could experiment that by, I guess you could take a baby like have like a robot bottle feed it. Did I save? Hold on, let's fact check this real quick. So I have updated my. From now on, I'm gonna have my iPad on the side so I can fact check myself every single time I say something that might be stupid. So maybe not every single time, but basically, you know how Joe Rogan has his young Jamie. My iPad is my young Jamie. So, will a baby die if you don't touch it? Baby die if you don't touch it. Lack of physical affection can actually kill babies, but touch is even more vital than this. Babies who are not held, nuzzled, and hugged enough can stop growing, and if the situation lasts long enough, even die. That's psychologytoday.com, so I don't know how good of a resource that is, but I guess no one's going against it, so I don't know. I'm gonna go with it because it agrees with my point. So there you go. It's proved. Babies that don't get touched will die or get physical affection. So love your babies. Uh-oh, what happened here? Oh, man. That rain was really nice to wake up to. Oh, yeah, but I almost forgot. What I was talking about earlier about my how I had that conversation with my sister about relationships. You know, because both of us are in really good relationships. However, there is one problem in my life right now, but chill out, dude. That's not cool. That's gross. So, we were talking about, because she has a significant other, and I guess, like, his family life, or, like, his dad fought in a war, and then kind of got weird after that, and he doesn't like my sister. I don't think he's racist, but, I mean, he thinks he's racist, or, my sister's boyfriend thinks his dad's racist, but I never think things are that simple. Because really they're not. Like, there's always more to the story. Like, you know, it's always an experience that someone had with a white cop or a white person, and then they're like, oh, you know, white people are like this. But it's really not. Like, look, well, I think the problem, I think we have a bad definition. I think our cultural definition of racist is too different than is too different from the actual definition, or our cultural definition is you hate this person. The real definition is you hate or you have a prejudice, or maybe it's and. Hold on, let me fact check this real quick. Okay, the definition of racism is prejudice, discrimination, or antagonism directed against a person or people on the basis of their membership in a particular ethnic group, typically one that is minority or marginalized. Believe that races possess distinct characteristic abilities. So racialism is the belief that different races possess distinct characteristics, abilities, or qualities, especially so as to distinguish them as inferior or superior to one another. So I guess that superior or inferior thing kind of plays a role. But for just the regular definition of racism, it's prejudice, discrimination, or antagonism. So I'm going to assume that there's an or between prejudice and discrimination. Because there's a big difference between having a prejudice and discriminating. I think a prejudice is a prejudgment on one's character, right? And that's based on so many different factors. Not saying I do recognize that, that there are factors. I mean that those factors then get tied to the racial, part of people. Like, I guess like one thing that I heard a lot of, and I'm only gonna talk on my experience because it's just my experience, but like, all the time growing up, people would be like, "Oh, you're so white." I would stand up, adjust my pants or something, and then people would be like, "Oh, you're so white," and you'd be like, "Why? Like, what did you achieve by saying that?" Because you just made me feel like I was. I mean, you just made me feel weird, but I wouldn't call somebody. I guess technically I would call somebody racist, but I don't think they hate me because they don't hate white people because they have this idea that white people walk like this or act like this or do that, and that's an important distinction. And part of the problem is whenever you make that, or the problem in not making that distinction is whenever we say that someone is racist, we say that they hate people, that they discriminate, that they are evil, malevolent. But we all have these. I mean, it's the way your brain tries to keep you safe. You recognize certain behaviors. You would tie that to, oh, I see this person wears a top hat. Last time I saw somebody in a top hat, whether it was on the news or, in person, but whatever. The last time that I saw someone wear a top hat, they were on the news for attacking somebody, so I'm gonna avoid them, something like that. Which I see the danger in it, but I don't know. Either way, it's always more complicated though, and it's whenever, I think the danger is whenever people aren't willing to communicate or mingle, which I guess that's the problem, is that people don't mingle in the first place to begin with. If people did kind of connect and mingle together, then I think that would solve that issue. But nevertheless, I guess I've been here before. But anyway, I don't think it's that simple, to call him racist. Like, I'm sure he probably had an experience, is what I think, that, really shook him up. And I don't even know, like, I just don't think it's fair to try and say what it is quite yet without understanding, his side of view. But he won't even say his side of view, which makes me think that, there's more to it. It's not just what we think it is, which is, because I think honestly, if we sat down and had a conversation, I could understand where he's coming from. That's my thing. I feel like if we kind of sat down and tried to see where people were coming from, we could understand it, and understanding, whenever people feel understood, I mean, it's just important. Whenever people feel understood, they're much more open to understanding, right? Because they put their guard down. But I don't know. That's my take. But anyway, but he doesn't have a good relationship, and his dad does this with everything. It's not even just. It's just the experience. My sister went over to their house, and he was really, really mad after the fact. Very upset that she was there. And anyway, but I think the big thing is that he doesn't tell. Like, he works at night, but no one really knows what he does. And I think, what they think, like, my sister's boyfriend thinks he works for the government, on something, which might be confirmed. He might actually just work for the government. but they just don't know like what specific. So that definitely could be a factor. But you do have like there is, it makes sense, that he might have to keep that secret, but it does affect people. Like it's still something that can really really harm a relationship. And I think it really has. And the reason why I said it is because I mean, just based off of what my sister's been telling me, like she says like, oh, he's someone that he likes connection with men, and that's something like his dad wasn't really there because he was in Afghanistan whenever he was young. But which is an interesting thing to consider whenever we're talking about war and stuff, and but I mean that's a different conversation. Which I guess that we could have, but nevertheless, and it made me think because she was like, I think he really likes just being at our house and feeling the stability of our family, which she was like, I mean, not that our family doesn't, because all families have issues, you know what I mean, but we are far much better off, and I think the reason is that we communicate very very well. We all kind of we're very very emotional. We're American, in the sense that we will let everybody know our emotions, you know what I mean, which is a good and a bad thing. It's good because the relationship can be straightforward. And I guess it's bad because we can oftentimes get very, very, whenever we're able to express our emotions so freely, I think it it almost gives us permission to be even more dramatic, and so if we're not careful, we can get stuck, which is where I've gotten stuck before, in this whole headspace that we are, victims, the whole victim mindset mentality. Something exciting though that I think I talked about last time. I connected with someone named Tamar Kushner, who is a psychologist, and she does work on children and how children learn. And as you guys know, I'm working on my program of trying to turn children into leaders, partly by and just in my research, I've kind of tried to deduce down, like, okay, what makes a leader, you know what I'm saying? And I think what makes a leader is the ability to see past yourself, right? I mean, that's definitely a part of it. The ability to see greater than you, to be more compassionate, more understanding. So it's like, how do you make people more compassionate, more understanding? I think part of it is seeing long term rather than short term. So seeing life as an investment that you make, rather than this, I don't know, in the moment experience, like, oh, if I don't do this now, when will I? But how will this thing that you do now benefit you later? Which could be, simply to get stimulation, you know what I mean? So you might, like, there are ways to do things and have fun, for example, like drink, and be able to think both in the long term and kind of in the short term, because it could be a place where, if I have this experience, this could be an experience that I could grow from, learn from, kind of something that could help you know for the future, right? But at the same time, you can be smarter about it and smarter in your decision, or just make a more purposeful decision whenever you make that decision to drink, because you are thinking at the same time about 'cause at the same time, sorry, you're thinking about uh your future, like improving on you, which could also mean that you might even decide never to drink, which is 100% a good decision too. Well, it makes all decisions not so bad, because the bad thing about drinking is that you're out of control, right? So if you control the out of controlness, if that makes sense, like if you purposely, if you be purposeful in your drinking journey or experience, then that can really really help you instead of harm you, I think. I mean, it's just about making decisions for not you now, but for you later, and also knowing that it's not just about or it's not just what am I trying to say? I think sometimes we whenever we think about our future, we're like, oh, what do you do for work? And that's wrong. It's not about what you do for work. It's about you in general. What's gonna make you happy, and that's the biggest mistake I think that we make. But yeah, so I mean that's just why, I think, that'll help, because at the same time, it's like whenever you're thinking about your future, you're thinking like I said, it's not just about your work, and I've talked about this a lot, but it's also, because you're more than your job, and that's something that Tori what's her face taught me. I forget. Oh, Tori Rose. From that I interviewed on How About You. That's one thing that she talked about, which is incredible. Oh my gosh, fantastic! Like, she was so ahead. She's so young, kind of immature, but she was so ahead of like, just from her experience. I think she was still kind, and you can tell, like, people who were addicted to something, or kind of escaped their mind, because whenever you're on drugs or drinking, you kind of escape your mind, especially drinking. Whenever you blackout drink, and I'm sure she also damaged her head a lot, but so she I think she just kind of lacked a lot of really good experiences, and lacked a lot of really good experiences, and a lot of growth. So it makes her seem more mature, but at the same time, I think she grew a lot just from being, going through that, and getting out of her drinking habits. But anyway, that's a really good episode if you want to check it out, guys. Timer's about to go off. This has been a really good episode. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I'm excited to do the next one. I think this might be a fight, so I'm not gonna walk down. I'm excited to do the next one. Like I said, I hope you guys really enjoyed. I hope you guys felt like this added some value in some sort of way. Dang, I walked into it. I knew it, and I did it anyway. Okay. I guess it's not bad. But if you guys want to support the show, what you can do is you can go to my website, joshuatbryan.com, where you can donate. If you scroll all the way down, there's a place where you can donate. But really, the best way that you can support this podcast is by listening and by sharing, if you think that there's value in it, or if you just think it's entertaining. I mean, whatever your purpose is. Or if you just want to follow me in kind of my pursuit of leadership and I've been studying a lot of psychology. But if you follow me on Joshua T Bryan 64 on Instagram, then you can see, I guess, updates. I should get better at it. I'm not too good with it, but I don't know. But what else? If you haven't, I make music, so you should definitely check that out. And I'm also about to get a mic, so the quality of this podcast episode in the vocals might improve quite drastically. But besides that, this has been another episode of the Drop Podcast. Make sure that you leave a review or a comment if you're watching on YouTube, a like, especially a comment if you are on like Spotify or iTunes or wherever you're listening. That really helps out a lot. Leave a rating. That all being said, I'm going to check you guys next time. See ya.